usage increased by up to 50%. This network of submarine cables represents a critical vulnerability, with some smaller island states relying on a single cable connection. Piracy and armed robbery at sea continued to be a major threat during the pandemic. The lives of seafarers remain at risk, particularly in the Gulf of Guinea, where some 90% of kidnapping incidents have occurred. A new UNODC study has found that pirate operations in the Gulf of Guinea are becoming more sophisticated. Some 6 pirate groups, with 30 to 50 members each, have developed the capacity to conduct attacks in deeper waters, and they are mostly targeting international vessels to kidnap crew members for ransom. The overall combined income resulting from the attacks has been estimated at some $4 million per year. The economic impact, however, has been estimated to be in the range of $800 million. Now, the first half of 2020 has seen a 20% increase in incidents of piracy and armed robbery against ships compared with the same period in 2019. Security needs, changes in routes, additional fuel, increased insurance, and other costs are estimated in the billions of dollars, with an obvious negative impact on global trade. The need to tackle piracy and organized crime at sea has been increasingly recognized by the Council and by member states. UNODC has supported member states to address transnational challenges to maritime security for more than a decade. Our global maritime crime program began in 2009 with a budget of $300,000 to address the threat of Somali piracy. It has since then expanded into our largest program, with a budget of over $230 million, providing capacity building and support for legal reform, simulated trials, maritime training centers, and more. This assistance is provided by some 170 personnel based in 26 member states who work in teams focusing on the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic, expanding partnerships, and promoting holistic crime prevention responses. Allow me to elaborate on these 4 points. Firstly, we need more effective implementation of the international legal framework and Security Council resolutions promoting maritime security. This includes Security Council Resolution 2551, which gives UNODC a leading role in supporting states to disrupt trafficking of illicit and licit goods into and out of Somalia, and to curb the provision of components for improvised explosive devices intended for Al-Shabaab. The framework governing use of the oceans and their resources is further reinforced by the UN Convention Against Transnational Crime and its protocols addressing human trafficking, migrant smuggling, and illicit firearms. The convention applies at sea as well as on land, and it has been strengthened with a new review mechanism. Alongside the Organized Crime Convention, UNODC also supports member states to implement the global counterterrorism instruments, the International Drug Control Conventions, and the Convention Against Corruption. Taken together, these instruments provide a solid basis for international cooperation against transnational maritime crime and terrorism, and we need to support all member states to make effective use of this framework. To do this, we need greater political will and more resources for technical assistance and capacity building. We need to enact domestic legislation as well as enable cross-border law enforcement and criminal justice cooperation to share intelligence and investigate and prosecute crimes at sea. UNODC works in coordination with UN entities, regional organizations, and other partners to provide assistance to address the full range of maritime crime, including illicit trade, supporting and financing terrorists, the smuggling of migrants at sea and forced labor on board fishing vessels, drug trafficking, piracy, and armed robbery at sea, and other threats. Our support, coupled with sustained political will and donor commitment, is starting to yield results. Not a single suspect had ever been convicted of piracy in the Gulf of Guinea until last month, when both Nigeria and Togo issued their first maritime piracy convictions. Both countries have worked to strengthen criminal justice capacities in very close cooperation with UNODC and other partners, including to draft and revise legislation and build the capacities of prosecutors and judges. Third, we need to keep strengthening international and regional cooperation, as well as public-private partnerships to counter the expansion of maritime crime. UNODC continues to operationalize cooperation through platforms including the Indian Ocean Forum on Maritime Crime, the Southern Route Partnership, the Caribbean Forum on Maritime Crime, and the Maritime Law Enforcement Dialogues in Southeast Asia. I would also like to note UNODC's work with India through the Information Fusion Center for the Indian Ocean region in New Delhi. UNODC supports the Yaoundé Maritime Safety and Security Architecture, and we are providing experts to the Interregional Coordination Center addressing maritime safety and security in Central and West Africa. Our cooperation is also helping to tackle shared challenges of marine pollution in the Indian Ocean, and UNODC is working with states to develop national resilience frameworks to protect critical maritime infrastructure, such as submarine cables. Public-private partnerships are essential to all these efforts. UNODC works closely with IMO, Interpol, regional organizations, shipping operators, lawyers and insurers, as well as private security companies, submarine cable operators, and seafarer organizations to increase maritime domain awareness and improve law enforcement responses. Harnessing advanced technologies and data is a key opportunity and priority for UNODC across our mandate areas, and we are helping member states to leverage technology in the fight against maritime crime, including through the provision of satellite imagery, radar systems, and maritime domain awareness infrastructure. Fourth, and finally, I would like to highlight the need to tackle root causes and support all countries to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals as part of integrated crime prevention responses, most of all for affected coastal communities. The private sector can be our partner in these endeavors. Major shipping companies issued a declaration in May 2021 on the suppression of privacy, which also highlighted the importance of capacity building and information sharing. Pirates, criminals, and terrorists exploit poverty and desperation to seek recruits, gain support, and find shelter. To counter these threats, we need to raise awareness and educate people, especially youth, while providing alternative livelihoods and support for local businesses. Mr. President, dear Council members, we know that there can be no security without development, and no development without security on land or at sea. Now the global pandemic has exposed many fragilities and vulnerabilities of our societies and economies, and this is no less true of the maritime domain. To recover better and promote prosperity, we need to strengthen cooperation and capabilities. We must combat immediate threats to maritime security while building local capacities and empowering coastal communities to manage the problem sustainably over the long term. This requires meaningful investment, commitment, and political will. Working together, we can keep our seas safe and free from crime. Thank you, Mr. President and Council members.
Thank you. I thank all briefers for their inputs. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as the Prime Minister of India. Excellencies, maritime security पर इस अहम चर्चा में जुड़ने के लिए
Thank you all for your participation in today's important high-level debate on maritime security. I once again thank the UN Secretary General for his positive message and the Executive Director of UNODC for her informative briefing. I am truly grateful to the President of Russia, the President of Kenya, and the Prime Minister of Vietnam for their presence at today's event. Excellencies, oceans are our shared global commons. They are also the lifeline of international trade. Above all, they are key to our planet's future. The oceans are extremely important for our planet's future. However, today, this common maritime heritage of ours faces various types of threats. Maritime routes are being misused for piracy and terrorism. There are maritime disputes between several countries, and climate change and natural disasters are also challenges to the maritime domain. In this context, we need a framework for mutual cooperation in order to conserve and utilize our shared maritime heritage. Such a framework cannot be created by any country alone. It requires joint efforts by all of us. It was with this thought that we decided to bring this very important subject to the UN Security Council. I am confident that today's high-level debate will provide the necessary guidance to the international community on the subject of maritime security. Excellencies, I would like to put forward 5 basic principles to provide a structure for today's debate. The first principle is that we need to remove barriers to legitimate maritime trade. Global prosperity for all our nations depends on the active flow of maritime trade. Any hindrance in maritime trade can threaten the entire global economy. Free maritime trade has always been part of the civilizational ethos of India. Thousands of years ago, the Lothal port of the Indus Valley civilization had extensive maritime trade linkages with its contemporary civilizations. It was in the free maritime environment of the ancient world that Lord Buddha's message of peace and harmony could spread across the world. In the present context, based on this open and inclusive ethos, India has put forward the vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region. Through this vision, we want to create an inclusive framework for maritime security in our region. The vision aims for a safe, secure, and stable maritime domain. For free maritime trade, it is also necessary that we fully respect the rights of the seafarers of other countries.
The second principle is that maritime disputes should be resolved peacefully and in accordance with international law. This is extremely important for promoting mutual trust and confidence and ensuring global peace and stability. It was with this understanding and maturity that India resolved its maritime boundary with its neighbor Bangladesh. The third principle is that we should jointly fight maritime
संबंधित समुद्री आपदाओं में हम
फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर रहे हैं। पायरेसी को रोकने के लिए भारतीय नौसेना में 2008 से हिंद महासागर में पेट्रोलिंग कर रही है। भारत का वाइट शिपिंग इंफॉर्मेशन फ्यूजन केंद्र हमारे क्षेत्र में साझा मैरीटाइम डोमेन अवेयरनेस बढ़ा रहा है। हमने कई देशों को हाइड्रोग्राफिक सर्वे सपोर्ट को और समुद्री सुरक्षा में प्रशिक्षण भी दिया है। हिंद महासागर में भारत की भूमिका एक नेट सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइडर के रूप में रही है। चौथा सिद्धांत, हमें मैरीटाइम एनवायरनमेंट और मैरीटाइम रिसोर्सेज को संजोकर रखना होगा। जैसा कि हम जानते हैं, ओशन का क्लाइमेट पर सीधा इंपैक्ट होता है और इसलिए हमें अपने मैरीटाइम एनवायरनमेंट को प्लास्टिक्स और ऑयल स्पिल्स जैसे प्रदूषण से मुक्त रखना होगा और ओवरफिशिंग और मैरीन पोचिंग के खिलाफ साझा कदम उठाने होंगे। साथ ही हमें ओशन साइंस में भी सहयोग बढ़ाना चाहिए। भारत ने एक महत्वाकांक्षी डीप ओशन मिशन लॉन्च किया है। हमने सस्टेनेबल फिशिंग को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए भी कई पहले ली है। पांचवा सिद्धांत, हमें रिस्पॉन्सिबल मैरीटाइम कनेक्टिविटी को प्रोत्साहन देना चाहिए। यह तो स्पष्ट है कि समुद्री व्यापार को बढ़ाने के लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण आवश्यक है, लेकिन ऐसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स के डेवलपमेंट में देशों की फिस्कल सस्टेनेबिलिटी और एब्सॉर्प्शन कैपेसिटी उसको भी ध्यान में रखना होगा। इसके लिए हमें उचित वैश्विक नॉर्म्स और स्टैंडर्ड्स बनाने चाहिए। एक्सेलेंसीज, मुझे विश्वास है इन 5 सिद्धांतों के आधार पर मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी कोऑपरेशन इसका एक वैश्विक रोड मैप बन सकता है। आज की ओपन डिबेट की उच्च और सक्रिय भागीदारी यह दिखाती है कि यह विषय सुरक्षा परिषद के सभी सदस्यों के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। इसके साथ मैं एक बार फिर आपकी उपस्थिति के लिए आपका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। धन्यवाद।